The high-profile nature of the Guthrie case is also drawing parallels to the Lindbergh baby kidnapping when the son of world-famous American aviator Charles Lindbergh was taken right from his crib. Joining us now to dig into all of it, Scott Curtis, former FBI agent, and Robert Zorn, author of Cemetery John, the undiscovered mastermind of the Lindbergh kidnapping. Thank you both very much for being here tonight. Scott, let me start with you. Just with the new video from Savannah Guthrie, change in tone, change of location. She's by herself. She's asking the public for help rather than speaking to suspected kidnappers or people who maybe sent in those ransom notes. What was your take on the change here?
I think it signals that law enforcement, the FBI in particular here, has probably made the decision to start over from scratch, go back to day one, see what they missed or what local law enforcement missed when the FBI wasn't involved in those first 24, 48 hours, and start piecing together every minute of Nancy Guthrie's movements from the time she left her house to go to her daughter's house and then back home. What was she doing when she got back home until we get the indication that somebody removed the doorbell cam, and then hopefully looking at how did she leave that residence that night with whoever in a vehicle? What was the most common route out of that neighborhood there, and hopefully trace and try to identify this vehicle that was used to transport her out. That would be a common starting point and the best way to identify these perpetrators.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, we haven't had any suspects named by the local sheriff or by the FBI. Is it possible that these ransom notes had nothing to do with this case?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I would go back. Okay, what is the original theory here? Was this from minute one a kidnapping crime to begin with? Or was this something else, an extortion plot, a home invasion robbery, a burglary that turned into a kidnapping because something bad happened to Nancy while they were in the residence that night? I would establish a better theory to start out with. That's what I always did in my investigations, because if you don't have a solid theory to begin with, you have a hard time establishing priorities and delegating responsibilities.
Robert, we've been glued to the story for all of the obvious reasons. You've written a book on the Lindbergh kidnapping. That was one of the biggest stories in the country at the time. What immediate parallels do you see between this case and that one?
Well, first of all, the victimology, when you look at why this victim was selected, you have very high profile target. In the case of the Lindbergh kidnapping, you have the most famous man in the world and his 20-month-old baby taken. Here in the Guthrie case, you have a very famous and very beloved TV star, celebrity, whose mother is taken. Both are extremely high profile cases, very high risk. This is an audacious crime. And this is a once in a lifetime. Both of these are a once in a lifetime crime. You don't do something like this 3 months from now with another person. This is a once in a lifetime deal. And this also required intense planning in both cases, intense planning. Another thing that I would say is that the Lindberghs thought that by living on a 389-acre estate out in the rural central New Jersey that they were safe. Lindbergh was great with rifles and guns. He thought he was safe, but they were actually more vulnerable there. Nancy, I understand, felt very safe in her neighborhood. It seemed like a very safe neighborhood, but she was obviously very vulnerable there.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Also, another thing I see is very, very important is that I see both sadistic nature, very cruelty, and a very calculating nature in both cases. And there's another thing that's quite interesting about this. Things aren't always what they seem.
Yeah.
History has gotten the Lindbergh kidnapping completely wrong. For years, for the last 94 years, we've been led to believe that this was a kidnapping that had gone bad. The guy's going down a ladder, and the ladder breaks. He drops the baby to his death, and then there's a mad scramble. This was not. This was a planned murder on the part of a man named John Knoll, who was my dad's neighbor. As part of his game, he was embedding clues in my then teenage father. And,
Wow.
If you've ever seen the TV show Monk, it's one of my favorites. My friend Randy Zisk is the executive producer. But I'm kind of like that Monk that monk character. I see things, my team and I see things that no one has ever seen. There are so many things that have been hiding in plain sight. This is a replica. I don't know if you can see it. A replica of well, it's not showing up too well, but a replica of the kidnap ladder, excuse me, of the first ransom note that was left in the nursery. This will be coming out in a biography I'm just finishing about Lindbergh called Wings.
Yeah. We have very little information about what actually happened in the Nancy case, but as you're explaining, there are so many parallels to this already, despite not having named suspects. And as our previous guest just said, it seems like the FBI may be just starting over from scratch based on what Savannah Guthrie said in that latest video. But Scott, I want to ask you about this because you heard that soundbite from Jack Carr. Do you agree that we make it very easy for criminals who are watching by putting information about our personal lives online, not thinking about what we're showing, maybe thinking it doesn't matter, that people aren't going to think about where we are, what our state of mind is, if we're vulnerable. In this age of social media and public figures being almost anyone online, it seems like people feel entitled to information, but it can put people in a lot of danger.
You know, not only that, but people want to broadcast what they're doing. They're looking for those likes, those interests from people there. I recently commented on a piece about people in the cryptocurrency world who were broadcasting their wealth and where they were going and where they were vacationing, making themselves vulnerable, not doing that risk assessment, not taking the proper precautions there for safety and security there. So they're just shining a light on themselves and making them a potential target.
Robert, you mentioned the media and the story and the history of the Lindbergh baby situation and story has been wrong for many years. While we continue to cover the story of Nancy Guthrie, and we still, again, don't have very much information about what has happened to her, what is your advice for folks who are watching this from home and who are documenting what we're hearing from law enforcement or not hearing from them?
Well, you don't know. Things may not always be what they seem. What I was going to say a minute ago is that ransom note that was left in the nursery, in that is, if I looked at that, I could tell that the baby was dead right then and right there. You have to look through the right lens and with the right, I see things that, my team and I see things that have never been seen before in this case. And it's astonishing. It will all come out eventually. But when I see various things, and we don't know a whole lot about the ransom notes, the public doesn't know about it. But when I see safe, but scared, there's something about that kind of raises my radar that, you know, there was a lot of obfuscation in the ransom notes of the Lindbergh case. And I'm just getting the same feeling that you're dealing with a thrill seeker who thinks they're a little smarter than they might be. And they're obviously clever, and both were successful. But you never know. People might see something.
Well, that's why they're asking for tips and help, because right now it seems like they don't have a whole lot, given what Savannah just released a couple of hours ago. Scott Curtis and Robert Zorn, thank you so much for your expertise tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.